Hello, I'm Joanne Hewins. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I have a blog that is at lovetocreate.typepad.com. Today we're going to make this card. Shelley Gardner, who is the founder of Stampin' Up!, showed this butterfly at one of our own stages. And it has a slit here so that when you open the card, the butterfly stays on the inside. So it's pretty neat, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Let me see if I can stick it back through here. And we're going to start off with a piece of Blackberry Bliss. This is cut at 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4 there in the center. And the first thing I'm going to do is bring in my stamping trimmer. I'm going to line this up with a 1 inch on this side and just trim 1 inch right off of the front of the card. Okay, now we're going to work on making this background. So let me show you how we do that. We're going to start with a piece of cardstock that is 3 3/4 by 5.5. And we're going to be using this stamp set called Playful Backgrounds. Not one that I use a lot, but today we're going to be using the open circles and the closed circle. And we're going to start with the open circle and the Versamark. We're just going to stamp these circles all over the card, or all over this piece of paper. I know you can't see it with this light, but we're just going to go through and do the whole front. And you might notice that my Versamark is a funny color, and that is from using it in a class. And we also used cherry cobbler, and some of that got on there, but it's okay, it won't matter. Now we're going to pull in some gold embossing powder. I just keep mine in this plastic container, and we're just going to cover this paper with the gold embossing powder. And for some reason, I always forget to use my embossing buddy. In fact, I have it right here, but I forget every time. But you can bring in a little brush if you have a little bit of extra, and just brush some of that off. Sometimes a little blow, not over your powder, but a little blow can help with that too. And then what we do next is bring in the heat tool and melt this powder. And it becomes a shiny gold. I already have that done just to cut down on the time of the video. So there is the embossed gold. The next thing we're going to do is bring in the solid circles. We're going to use our Blackberry Bliss, and we're just going to stamp it all over the front. It doesn't matter where. You don't have to really look at the gold circles and see where they are. Just stamp. And then I'll do some down here. And then we're going to keep our Blackberry Bliss, and we're going to use this stamp. It comes from the Love What You Do stamp set, this background watercolor looking stamp. So we're going to stamp on our Blackberry Bliss. We're going to stamp off 2 times and then just stamp on the background. Now, it doesn't matter if you leave a little bit of white space on there at all. Okay. And that's done. Okay, let me put up our Blackberry Bliss. And we're going to bring in the trimmer. Now I'm going to tell you that this Blackberry Bliss is juicy. It doesn't dry very quickly for me, or that's my experience with it. I would bring in the heat tool and just dry it a little bit more before doing this cutting, but I'm just going to go ahead this time, and we're going to cut at 2 1/4, and then this small piece will go on the inside of the card, the larger piece will go on the outside. Now, I also have gotten a little bit of that Blackberry Bliss on my trimmer, so I'm just going to take a wipe and wipe some of that off, or it will show up later. Now I'm going to take this larger piece and adhere it to the front. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue here. And I want to line this up with the edge of the card here. Okay, I'm going to just flip that over and push down good. And now we want to do the slit. Since this is 2 1/4 across here, I'm going to make a little line at 1 1/8. So I'm just going to take my ruler here, and at 1 1/8, I'm just going to make a line. Now I'm going to cut that so it really doesn't matter. So let me bring in, this is the classic label punch. I'm going to bring it in and put that line halfway between. Now to make sure I'm getting it straight, I can also look at the fold here and make sure that my punch is even with that fold. So I'm going to, I think that looks pretty good, and I'm going to go ahead and punch that out. Now we want to do the sentiment that's going to go down here. This sentiment is from the Beautiful You stamp set. The Happy Birthday Gorgeous is what we're going to use. We're going to bring in a scrap, and with the Versamark again, we're going to stamp, we're going to stamp on our paper with that. And then again, we're going to bring in the gold embossing powder and put that on there. Now see all that mess I got on there? I should have used the Stampin' Buddy for that. In the interest of time though, I'm going to lay this aside and bring in one that I've already made. This one was cut out using the stitched shape framelits. I used this one to cut that out. So we have that ready. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to that. And we're just going to glue that down on the front. So that's going to go under there. I'm afraid I have some of the ink on my hands. I'm trying not to smudge so much. Okay, let's work on the inside. We're going to use a piece of white that is 3 by 5 1/2. We want that to go in here, but when I glue it in, I don't want it to stick out. So I'm going to kind of make sure that where I'm going to put it won't stick out. And then I'm going to glue that down. And I'm just going to leave a little bit of a space between the fold and where I put the paper. And then we'll just put that down. And it doesn't stick out. Good. Now I'm going to take this piece and add it. And I'm going to be putting it right at the edge of this white here. So I still don't want it to poke out, but see, it's going to cover up that hole that we made. Okay, and then I'm going to take another stamp from the Beautiful You, the Life Looks Beautiful on You, and we're going to stamp that on the inside. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now the next thing that we want to do is add our butterfly. So that is going to come from the Springtime Impressions Thinlits. I've already cut this out of the gold foil. I'm going to bring in my Big Shot die brush. I just keep it in a old case, and I'm just going to brush that a little, and oh, look, it just came out perfectly. So I'm going to take the butterfly and just bend it a little on each side of the body, and then I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back of the body. Okay, and I'm going to shut the front of the card and put my butterfly there in the center. I'm just going to hold that for a minute. And what I'm going to decorate this with is the faceted gems. Okay, and I'm going to bring in my new Take Your Pick tool and use a little spatula end to do that. I'm going to get one of these bigger ones and put it up here, and then two of the smaller. And there you go. The card is finished. And you want to be careful with your butterfly until it's really glued well, but you can see that this one will work. You can pull it out, and there's the butterfly on the inside. Thank you so much for joining me for my video today. If you like it and find it helpful, please share it with your friends. And if you need any supplies, go to lovetocreate.typepad.com, and you can link to my own store, from my online store from there. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye-bye.